Ocean Ward is a really special place. It's very different to most other wards that you will find in a children's hospital. Obviously, Ocean Ward is solely paediatric cardiac and covers a huge geographical area across the country. They have got staff that have been on the ward for years and years, so you have consistency each time you're coming back to the ward, which is always nice, and it gives you some level of comfort in a pretty dire situation.
Ocean Ward is a very special place, close to our hearts. When we first came to Southampton Hospital, our son went into intensive care. We were there for 35 nights before coming to Ocean Ward. The day after Cameron came up, unfortunately he had a second cardiac collapse, and the nurse that was looking after him that day went beyond the call of duty. His collapse was about an hour before the end of her shift, and she stayed late to sit with myself and my wife while Cameron was stabilised again in the intensive care unit, and she stayed with us for 2 or 3 hours beyond her shift until she was satisfied that Cameron was stable and she could go home. And from the stories that we've heard from other parents, it's just a constant thing that happens on Ocean Ward, just consistent dedication from the staff.
Because William was diagnosed whilst I was pregnant, they told us that probably what would happen was William would be born. We would need to help him grow and fatten up to be strong enough to have surgery, probably at 6 months old, to fix the problems. But it turned out the day after he was born, he had to be resuscitated, and he was taken into intensive care and put on a life support machine because his condition was actually far more complicated than they'd anticipated. He came to Ocean Ward on the high dependency unit, but after 2 weeks they sat us down and told us that what they were doing for him wasn't going to last, and he wasn't going to make it unless he had surgery. So at 2 weeks old, he had his first full bypass open heart surgery. Then he came back at 3 months old to have what they call the full fix. It was hoped that would keep him going perhaps for a good 5 to 10 years, but unfortunately he got to 3 years old and the valve really wasn't working for him, and his quality of life was quite poor. So he came back in for his third bypass surgery. So we've been on Ocean Ward a lot in his short time.
Harriet was a late diagnosis of a congenital heart disease called tetralogy of Fallot, and subsequently ended up having 2 open heart surgeries relatively close together. Last year she contracted a bacterial infection on her heart, which meant that she ended up being on Ocean Ward for a long period of time. And as a result of all of the long-term drugs that she was on, it resulted in other complications, and she ended up being on the ward for 8 months. We had a son that was at home that was being passed from pillar to post. We had to rely on the support of amazing family and friends who went beyond the call of duty to help look after Toby and to give both Teddy and I the emotional support that we needed as well. We got home, Harriet was great, had a wonderful family holiday, and then she tragically died in May from from an infection. So ultimately an infection that any child can carry around with them. But because of her underlying heart condition, she just didn't have that extra fight to be able to get through it. That's why Ocean Ward is so special to us.
When a new diagnosis is made, communication with the family is obviously paramount. We pride ourselves here in Southampton at being really good at that. We're very lucky to have a good culture, a culture where we naturally care about what happens to our patients. So it's not really hard for us to sit down and spend the time that families need to explain what is going to happen to their child. After the surgery, the cardiologist and the surgeon will come and speak to the family. Our anaesthetists will phone the ward to give updates. We make sure that the family has a nurse that is assigned to them if they feel that they're getting anxious, they can ask for an update. So communication, I think, is key, and I think it's a telltale sign. You know, when you look at how few complaints we get, we feel that it's because we explain what happens and we keep families well updated, and we find that that really works.
There are a lot of people involved in caring for children with heart conditions. We've got the surgeons, we've got the anaesthetists, we've got play leaders on the ward. All the nurses are highly qualified and trained to look after children with heart conditions. And all of these people work together to ensure the children have a best experience as they possibly can during a really difficult time.
Whilst on Ocean Ward, there were obviously times where there were some very, very sick babies and toddlers, and at any given point in time, that crash call can go out, the corridors have to be cleared, and you know that intensive care are coming up to either try to resuscitate or to take a baby or a child down to intensive care unit. That your body goes into complete shock when that happens. You're either there supporting the parents of the child that is being taken ill, or it is you, me, the parent of the child that it's happened to. It's a scene that you never, ever, ever want to witness. It is amazing how quickly they respond. That call goes out and there are people here within seconds surrounding your child. And they are either stable, stay on the ward, or they're stable and they go down to PICU. Sometimes that isn't always the case. And sometimes the outcome isn't always the outcome that you hope for.
They're brilliant in that they're specialists, and they're brilliant in the care that they give in their patients whilst you're falling apart constantly, randomly panicking when the alarms are going off on the machines and it doesn't make sense to you, and they just keep your head in the right place. I mean, the surgeon, Marku Khan, I genuinely feel we owe William's life to, but actually without the care of the nurses on PICU and on Ocean Ward and the consultants, they get you by, they get you through. And it's thanks to them that William and many, many children like him are still alive.
Cameron's now 15 months old. He has made a full recovery cardiac-wise. However, he's left with a weaker chest. So anytime he gets the slightest illness, we're into hospital and admitted for a few days at a time into our local hospital. Our worst nightmare would be to be told that something has gone wrong with his heart again, which is obviously a concern having been through what Cameron's been through. If that was to happen, we'd take great comfort knowing that the team in Southampton are there for him and that they're only an hour and a half down the road and he'd be in the best place he could possibly be.
When you look around the ward, a lot of the nice things that we can provide for families, like the televisions, the internet, the beautiful playroom we have, most of that stuff has been provided by really kind donations. And without all of those little extra things, it would be very difficult to provide such a nice service. So when children have blood tests, they have little presents, they all have sticker charts, and all of those things make such a difference to the child's stay in hospital and also to the parents. And when they go in for their echo, where they have their heart scanned, we now have internet TVs, and so we can go straight onto CBeebies and they can find their favourite video to watch, and distraction really does help with children.
I think what we don't appreciate is how much money it takes to look after a child that's ill, or anyone that's ill for that matter. But you have newborn babies, toddlers, teenagers, all who have different needs, and it's not just the medical care, it's not just the sophisticated equipment, it's not just the expensive medicine that they need, it's the nappies and it's the milk and it's the sterilising equipment, it's the DVD players, it's the videos, it's the pool table for the teenagers, it's the entertainment at Easter, and it's just, there's so much more to looking after a child, and there's so much more needed. So it's fundraising events like tonight and any charitable donations that make a huge, huge difference. You can't underestimate what a difference it makes. So please dig deep and give generously. Thank you.
I think we're very lucky that our ward is one of the nicest that the hospital has. It does take a lot of money to maintain this kind of quality. It's important to us. Without it, I don't think families would enjoy the kind of special care they get while they're going through what is perhaps the hardest time in their lives. So we're very grateful for any support that we can get. We've always got plans, we've always got improvement projects. It's really hard to keep up with the technology. There's always a need for more. It's a specialty that changes constantly, and we always want to present our patients with the best. So the charity is actually vital to us if we're going to carry on with this good work. Thank you for any help you can offer.
Tonight we've heard about the incredible work that Ocean Ward have done, and also the objectives that Piggles Trust is going to achieve in the next coming months and coming years. It's fundraising events like this evening, with the support of you all here financially, that make these objects seem achievable. Without you, none of this would be possible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all of your support. Thank you.